Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihil kareem. Dualism. Dualism, in contrast to monism. So the contrast is between dualism and monism. So dualism holds that reality is composed of two kinds of, that's what dual mean, two kinds of fundamental entities, neither of which can be reduced to the other. So this is non-reductionist. Neither of can be reduced to each other. Okay. So dualism is about reality. And I guess the reality and its nature. And dualism says that reality is made of two types of material, or two types of substances. What's the word they used? Okay, two fundamental types of entities, and entity 1 and entity 2, and they can't be reduced to each other. And they will explain what this means. It basically means that they are incompatible with each other. Other position is monism, which says that there is only one reality, ultimately, and that is called monism. And these are the famous one, but there's another one which you can call pluralism, which means that there are more than two. There are many different types of entities, and they are irreducible to each other. So that's why you call. So there are three views, possible views: dualism, monism, pluralism. In early modern period, dualism was more common and more popular. Nowadays, I think monism is especially materialist monism. So everything is ultimately material. But I guess you can find supporters of pluralism as well. But irrespective of which one is popular at what time, all three opinions can be found in the writings of different philosophers. Okay, so Descartes is the most famous dualist, or the father of modern dualism. He said world into extended substance. So he said the two basic entities of which the reality is made of. One is matter and the other is mind. And their nature is mutually incompatible because their essence is incompatible. So the essence of matter is extension, and the essence of mind is, or the essence of thinking is, essence of mind is thinking, and thinking is, there's no extension in thinking, and there's no thinking in extension. So that's why they are incompatible. So if there is a matter, then there's no mind in that. and if there is a mind, there's no matter in that. So they are irreducible to each other in that sense. They must have their independent origins. Okay. So you have two substances. I mean, we won't go into the Cartesian definition of substances because that has its own problems. Because, in fact, as Spinoza shows, according to the definition of substance put forth by Descartes, there can be only one substance. But we will just forget about that for a moment. So there are two substances, matter and mind, and their essence is different. The essence meaning what makes them what they are, essence. So it's extension. So anything matter is extended, or anything extended is matter. And essence of mind is thinking, and thinking, whatever it might be, is not extension. So when there is extension, there is no thinking. When there is thinking, there is no extension. That's why they're mutually incompatible, mutually exclusive, and irreducible to each other. That's why they must have their independent origins. And hence, there's a huge problem for Descartes to explain. If they are so unlike each other, or incompatible with each other, how they interact in us, for example, because supposedly we have a matter, we have body. Most of us is body. Most of human being is a body, and then we have a mind. We have a thinking, not brain, but thinking, which is irreducible to brain in Cartesian terms, I guess. So the huge problem: how do they interact with each other? How my thinking affect my body, and how my body affects my thinking, which apparently does, isn't it? Accordingly, the soul. In modern philosophy, soul just means mind. And the essence of soul is things. Soul is entirely distinct from the body. This is standard in mental physical dualism. It's called Cartesian dualism. Reference to Descartes. Reference to his Latin version of his name. Aside from the above substance dualism, so both matter and mind are substances, that they exist. We don't need to go into the definition of substance, I guess, at this point, but there's also a property dualism. So the difference between substance and property is that substance can exist on its own. Property doesn't exist on its own. So for example, just a very rough example, for example, chair is a substance, for example, because chair exists on its own. But the color of the chair is not a substance, because the color of the chair cannot exist without the chair. So in this case, the color is the property and the chair itself is the substance. So aside from the above substance dualism, there are property dualism called dual aspect theory, which suggests that the mental and physical are two mutually irreducible types of and properties. They are one and the same things. So this dual aspect theory is that there is a dualism, but dualism is not at the level of substance, but at the level of property. So ultimately, for example, there's only matter, but matter has two properties: extension and thinking. Not every matter, but which are mutually exclusive. For example, so this is a dual aspect theory, which suggests that mental and physical are two mutually irreducible types of properties of one and the same thing. Russell holds a kind of causal dualism. By Russell I mean Bertrand Russell. According to which dualism is not between two entities or properties, so that's the third type, I guess, but rather between two fundamental kinds of laws. So there are physical laws and there are psychological laws. So you can think of many different. So dualism can be according to this classification anywhere at the level of substance. So there is a matter and mind. At the level of properties, at the level of laws. Properties, there's extension and there's thinking, and here there are physical laws and there are psychological laws. So it can be at various different levels, can be thought of at various different levels. Okay. And the third one is apparently the Russell's view. Obviously, Russell wrote many books, and his views developed over time. So I don't know at what stage he held that view. Okay, a traditional dualism implying the mind or soul is independent of body has difficulty in accounting for interaction between body and mind, as I already, and has become a focus of many disputes in contemporary philosophy of mind. Gilbert Ryle accuses of dualism of making mind a ghost in the machine. Various theories about the relationship between mind and body have been proposed to avoid the problem of dualism. It is, in its wider sense, dualism refers to philosophical systems that are established on some sharp fundamental distinctions, such as Plato's distinction between sensible and ideal world, and Kant's distinction between phenomenal and the nominal world. I mean, these distinctions can be thought of at epistemological level or at ontological level or on both levels. Okay, so that's a good general overview of and definition of dualism. Now, what does this quotation say? Dualism, this is from Russell. Dualism, this theory holds that there are both mental and physical particulars. Particulars is important. So that's different. It is the Cartesian view, the view of educated common sense, and the view of Christian theology. Christian theology because I guess they believe in soul. I mean, as far as I am concerned, if you're a Christian or Muslim, for example, you don't have to necessarily believe in, philosophically speaking, mind-body dualism, but you have to believe in mind-body on the one hand and soul on the other hand, sort of dualism. At some level, I guess, but that ultimately depends on what do you mean by soul. Anyway, so we'll stop here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم انصر أولياءك في لبنان، اللهم انصر إخواننا المجاهدين في لبنان، اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن عبادك في لبنان وفي بيروت وفي مشارق الأرض ومغاربها، وصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا رب.